We'll be seeing you here in the new movie Feeling Randy, and I'm very curious how you became a part of this one. Frank Parker doesn't seem like a Jonathan Silverman kind of role to me.
This character is pretty interesting, isn't he? He's not the nicest person. Actually, he might be the worst person I've ever played. Um, I love this film. I loved the script, and when I read it, I was wondering the same thing you were. Why, why me? Um, I had a chat with Dean Lent, the wonderful writer director, uh, who based this on his own childhood and his own experiences with his family and his search for an identity. And he had a pretty awful relationship with his father. Um, Nothing in this is sugar coated, and it was difficult for him to write this, and it was difficult for him to direct it and watch it and relive it. But I remember asking him, does this character have any redeeming qualities at all? And why are you thinking about me? What is it about me that makes you think of your asshole father? Um, he actually said that I mostly come across as someone who is personable and likable. So just by having me play the part, maybe my character won't be booed, off the screen. Uh, and the words were just so painful, and the things that this guy does just so awful. It was a difficult role to tackle, and I wanted to be so supportive of Reed, the dynamite actor who plays the lead character, and my son. And I gave him as much love and support and guidance as I could off the set, as a fellow actor, as someone playing his dad, so that when it came time to do these awful scenes together, there was a great deal of support, even though what we were playing was just cruel. Um, but it's a really cool little movie, and I hope people watch it. It's not all nasty and awful. It's 90% joyful, and the journey that the character is going through is exciting and new and different. But also there's dark moments.
How
Very dark.
did Dean describe Frank and Randy's familial dynamics, and how many takes did it take? I mean, how much mechanical knowledge did you need or have to
Um,
obtain for the mechanics part of it? You're like mostly fixing a car.
yeah. The one scene that I'm thinking of took place in the bathroom where I catch him experimenting with makeup. Um, and it's the realization scene that my son is probably gay. And my character's inability to come to terms with that was rough. And Dean remembered those moments specifically in his own youth. And he just remembers his father using such limited vocabulary. The words that he says were actual words that the father told Dean. And I remember after takes going around the corner to the bedroom where Dean was sitting at his monitor, and he would just be in tears, and he wouldn't be able to speak to. He wouldn't even be able to make eye contact with me, because it was just so. It,
Too visceral for
yeah,
him.
yeah, it was just bringing back so many things. And I, of course, as the actor was saying, am I doing it right? Am I playing it right? Do you think I should, go softer, go deeper? And he's like, everything you're doing is perfect and awful, and I don't want to change I don't want to change a thing. But we did have to do it so many times, and each and every take was just more and more gut wrenching and physical and violent and awful. And I just remember coming home that day just feeling truly vile, and needed to shower and hug my kid.
I mean, Randy goes on this mission, I think partly this sexcapade, as it were, as sort of, a way to find himself, but also I think maybe it's a way to prove himself a man, to his dad and that as well, because,
Oh,
you
sure.
know, he's going to this kiddie ranch, you know, female place, and he's really trying to prove himself on that journey as well. And Reed just does a wonderful job of portraying this kid who's so confused and torn and just eaten up inside of confused about everything. I mean, talk about working with Reed as Randy in this.
Reed is such a lovely actor, and he is so talented and versatile and communicative. And I was so proud to work with him, so proud to play his dad. I remember when his mom and dad came to set, and I met them, and I just complimented them and just told them what a beautiful job they've done. I'm a new uh, father myself, so I know how difficult it is and how proud I am. But I just can't imagine their sense of accomplishment, knowing they've created such a well-rounded human who's so good and so vulnerable in a very difficult role. But he was just so willing, and he just jumped in, and it made the experience really beautiful. And yeah, it is a period piece. It takes place in the '70s, which was a far more innocent time to live. But at the same time, for someone going through that journey and confusion and exploration, you didn't have the amount of access that a young person might have, or even an older person might have now.
No internet.
No internet, no groups, no community, no ability to mingle with like-minded people who are going through the same uh, 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 quests and confusions. So yeah, this poor kid just had to figure it out on his own, and he had to prove to himself that he wasn't this. Ultimately, realizing he is. And it's the journey that Dean Lent, our filmmaker, took himself, and he went through these same events. It's very autobiographical,
What was it like for you slipping into those threads? Pretty groovy.
pretty groovy. You know, uh, we were told on the first read through, the first day of meeting each other and rehearsing, um, to go to various thrift stores and retro stores and just come up with your dream wardrobe. And we would be reimbursed, and thankfully a lot of these clothes are not very expensive. My jeans were $10. But I had so much fun going to 3 or 4 stores and just picking Frank's wardrobe, and I just tried to find things that were ill-fitting and just made him look horrible, and but were also really cool. But I was happy to wear them, and then happy to give them back to production, saying, "I never want to see these again. They're
Yes.
yours. You sell it back." Yeah, but I just love I love doing period pieces, and this one particular was really cool, and just the vehicles and the carpeting and the furniture, and it was great.
Since we do know you as this personal, jovial, funny guy, and this is a more intense subject matter, you alluded to it a little bit earlier, that it's a little difficult, that it was a little difficult for you to shake off this character after a long day of being on set. How did you step out of Frank and be Jonathan again?
Uh, wasn't easy. Again, I remember reading the script, trying to talk myself out of playing it. It's like it's just not for me. I just don't want to go there, and especially as a parent myself, I can't even imagine doing and saying these things. But this is what we do when we try and play characters who are not like ourselves, so we could explore and we could try learning or unlearning and living different lives. But yeah, coming home on certain days of filming, nights of filming, I just remember hugging my kid even harder and going out of my way to saying how much I love her and how proud I am, and I continue to, and even in this process of promoting the film and watching it and talking about it, yeah, I'm going to pick my kid up from school in an hour, and I just can't wait to give her the biggest hug and hear all about her and tell her, I'm just crazy about her and think she's, the best.
What do you hope people take away from watching Feeling Randy? Is it be comfortable in your own skin? Is it this was a time of exploration and it was a time of everyone learning themselves, and it's still a time for you to be okay to learn who you are.
Absolutely. I mean, if people come out of a movie thinking anything about that and thinking about their particular quests and journeys and maybe going back in time and thinking about, oh, this is maybe what my folks had to go through, my aunts and uncles and relatives back at a completely different time when the ability to figure things out was so pure and so limited to just this. It would be great. It would be wonderful to have that sort of reaction, and I think people are going to be touched and sad and hopefully laugh a lot as well because it's an amazing journey. This little picture, very proud of it.
Well, I have to say, when I was growing up in the 90s, whenever I would visit my Nana, I would ask, I would stay in her guest room and she
Right?
had VCR. Kids, look what a VCR is these days up if you're
Yeah.
watching. And I would watch Brighton Beach Memoirs.
Oh my God, really?
It was part of my ritual. I loved getting to sleep over just because I had the room to myself and I could watch Brighton Beach Memoirs. That's one of my all-time favorite films of you. It was
Oh,
that and Crossing Delancey. And
I loved Crossing Delancey. Loved that movie.
since then, you've been a part of a number. Well, before that, you were a part of a number of iconic films and TV shows, but here you've been a continue to be a part of a number of iconic films and TV shows. Uh, are there still some projects that hold a special place in your heart now and always? Certainly, Weekend at Bernie's is the obvious choice, but are there some other projects that you loved working on that still remain with you?
I'm so touched that you felt that way about Brighton Beach Memoirs because that definitely is the one that is most near and dear to me. It was my first job, really, my first paying job as an actor was doing that play, and I did that play on Broadway and everywhere for 2 years, and then the 3 4 months doing the movie. So Eugene will be a part of me forever, and it makes me feel so good that it meant so much to you because I know it meant so much to me. And then getting the chance to play him later on stage in Biloxi Blues and on stage in Broadway Bound, and then on a movie version of Broadway Bound where I played Eugene's brother Stanley. Yeah, those trilogy of projects were just kind of everything, and I have such happy, fond memories of them. So thank you for bringing that up. And it's interesting. You look at that film and then Feeling Randy. Bright Beach Memoirs is a story about a young boy trying to figure himself out, and Feeling Randy is a story of a young boy trying to figure
Yes.
himself out. And you go from the 30s to the 70s, and you talk about how limited it was in the 70s to figure out
Both are true stories.
your desires and sexuality. And I think all Eugene had in Bright Beach Memoirs was a postcard of a French girl, and
Right.
what Randy had was maybe a book, a school book, looking at pictures of genitalia. Um,
Right.
so you figure things out. You figure things out.
Well, you are continue to be such an in-demand actor, and we've seen you in wonderful projects over and over again, one episode arcs, but still people recognize you and they recognize you when they see you show up on a screen. What does that mean to you? That's still to this day, you're a cherished actor that's in demand even.
It's lovely when someone says something especially nice. It's also funny seeing that through the eyes of my kid. I took her to uh, a garden it was like a Halloween set at a public garden, and I got recognized, and some came up to me and said my name and gave me a fist bump. So somebody came up to me and gave me a fist bump and thanked me for my work, and he's a fan, and my daughter's looking at him and looking at me and saying, "Daddy," she's very shy. "Do you know him? How does he know you?" And I said, I don't know him, honey, but he must have like recognized me from some TV show or a movie, and he's just saying nice things. But how? From what? It was just really, and,
Curious little cutie.
yeah, she's amazing. But just seeing her go from fear to confusion to pride, and like, yeah, people know who my daddy is, and then not caring and just looking at the and stuff. But it's totally absurd to have that as part of your possible daily life. Somebody just looking at you and talking to you, even if they don't know you, and it doesn't necessarily happen to somebody who is a lawyer. But it's just part of part of the game, and for the most part, it's very enjoyable. I don't think I would ever want to get to a place where it happens constantly, and as a matter of fact, at the same event, there were some very famous people roaming around, and I even know them, but I didn't want to bother them. But it's a very strange thing that comes with the job.
What's next for you? What have you been busy working on since Feeling Randy?
Yeah, I'm very proud of Feeling Randy. It's coming out everywhere, November 5th. I have another movie called Floaters that's coming out in the spring. My wife and I just worked together for the umpteenth time on an episode of Ryan Murphy's show, 911. And yeah, just staying busy. I've got a project that I'm supposed to be directing in a couple months, and just staying busy.
What would you like to say then to everyone who are fans and supporters of the wonderful work you do and continue to support the work you do?
Um, Thank you, everybody. You're very kind. I sure do appreciate it. It's been a very fun and long journey, and please watch Feeling Randy. I promise you will feel Randy yourself. You'll feel a lot of emotions, and hopefully it makes you laugh and giggle and cry a little bit too.